Welcome and thank you for joining. We're going to give it a few minutes for some people to join in. First thing we'd like to ask is, for those of you that joined already, we're going to launch a short poll, and we just want to get an idea of the audience to get a feel for your programs if you will answer this one poll question for us. So welcome to the Procure App 30-minute webinar on Maverick Spend. We're going to highlight causes and solutions. We're starting with the short poll. So those that just joined, if you will answer the one question, we'd appreciate it. We want to get a feel for your programs out there. We have a few people that just joined. Welcome to our Maverick Spend webinar for Procure App. Thank you for joining us. We're going to highlight causes and solutions. We're doing a short poll. If you'll take that one question poll, we'd appreciate it. Then we're going to get right into our webinar. Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you, guys. We have very interesting, the poll results. We have 44% that say the percentage of Maverick spend is between 0 to 20%, 33% between 20 and 40%. We have 11% of you who say your percentage is between 40 and 60, and then 11% is greater than 60%. So that's very good to hear, very good to know. Okay. So we're excited about the webinar and believe we have some good information to share and discuss. We're scheduled for 30 minutes, so we will respect your time. At the end, if there are other questions, we will definitely stay on extra if you need. But please enter your questions throughout the session, and we will answer them as time permit. We've already had a couple questions come through, so if we don't get to all your questions, we'll have a Q&A at the end. And if there are any questions that we don't get to that are addressed to one of the speakers directly, we'll have them follow up with you. Both the slides in the webinar, along with the white paper of industry facts, will be sent to your email afterwards. The speakers today are, I'm Betty Jones, the VP of Sales and Marketing for Procure App. We have Kelly Barner, who's the co-owner of BuyersMeetingPoint.com. Jonadine Randolph, who's our North America Travel Manager for Visala, and then Phil Hammer, our CEO of Procure App. There are some significant facts that are very relevant to our topic today, and I think you guys will be a little surprised to hear some of these if you're not aware. 50% of corporate employees are not aware of their procurement policy. And that's a fact from Business Travel News. And one of the top drivers of rogue purchasing behavior is one, price, and number two, for convenience. And some of the things that they listed as convenience would be close to the airport that they're traveling to, or close to a hotel, or if they're going to a meeting, if it's outside of policy, they'll choose convenience. 82% of negotiated savings go unrealized. And each new dollar brought under management saves the company 5 to 20%. Those are two facts from the Aberdeen Group. I'd like to introduce our first panelist, Kelly Barner. And Kelly is the co-owner of buyersmeetingpoint.com, which is an online resource for procurement and purchasing professionals. She has a great background, well-educated. She also received some great awards in 2012 and 2013. She was awarded a Provider Pro to Know award by Supply and Demand Chain Executive Magazine. And in 2013, she was also recognized as one of the top 28 female supply chain executives. So we'd like to welcome Kelly.
Thank you, Betty. I appreciate the introduction. And I also appreciate the invitation to be here today to discuss this topic, because I think it's a topic of interest. And as you saw from those statistics that Betty just shared with you, clearly this issue and how you handle it has a real impact on the organization. So I think before we go too far, it makes sense just to level set and define what we're talking about when we say Maverick spend. We're talking about purchases made outside of either an established process or a contract. Depending on your organization, it may be known as rogue spend, non-compliant, off-contract purchasing, or be thought of as spend or savings that has leaked outside of the system that's in place. Now, it's important to distinguish, and Betty actually touched on this a minute ago, the difference between being off-contract and off-process. So here's an example. If your company has a contract with Marriott and somebody books a room with Hilton, even if they go through the established process, they're off-contract. Now, if that same person books a room with Marriott, which is the correct hotel partner, but books directly through the Marriott website without referencing the right account or contract code, they're off-process. And the issue with that is that those room nights are not going to properly get credited back to you so that you can use them as negotiating leverage when your deal is up. And that person may end up unintentionally spending a higher rate per night in the room. Before we get too much further into diagnosing and remedying the issue of Maverick spend, let's take a step back in time, about 150 years, to a Texas cattle rancher named Samuel Maverick. Now, Samuel, he was the original Maverick, and it's from his name that we get the term. He had held a number of positions over the course of his life, and maybe, fortunately for us today, rancher was his least favorite. Because of his total disinterest, he didn't bother to brand any of his cattle, so that unique stamp that would be marked right into the hide of his property, declaring it as his own. Any unbranded cattle that were found in the area mixed in with other ranchers' herds just became over time to be known as Mavericks. Now, if that were all there were to the story, today Maverick might be another term for lazy or wandering or disinterested, but in fact, Samuel Maverick's branding strategy was craftier than it seemed. In addition to his own cattle wandering free, any unbranded cattle, whether they were his or not, were assumed by the other ranchers to be Mavericks and were added back into his own herd. So it may not have been predictable, but it was an interesting and creative growth strategy. And I think in the modern day, we have this same opportunity. So at a very high level, there are 3 different types of Maverick spenders that you're likely to encounter. And when you find that you have a problem with off-contract spend, your first hope is to diagnose it, because the cause of the Maverick spend and the motivations behind it is going to help you figure out the most productive approach to reducing it. Simple noncompliance is unintentionally done and can usually be reduced or eliminated altogether just through improved communication. So for instance, a traveler may not know that there's a contract in place that will help them in the city that they're going to, or they may not be aware that, let's say on December 31st, a contract expires and you've made the decision to change chains or properties They may just be behind, and out of habit, they go back to the contract that you were previously buying off of. When convenience is the cause, and that might be what causes somebody to go directly to a website rather than going through your established process, you're looking for opportunities to reinforce the process as soon as you can find it, and that becomes the challenge. But it is the third type, intentionally maverick spending, that really is the most challenging to address, because the purchasers in this category feel justified in their actions, and they may even take steps to conceal them, which makes everyone's job more difficult. Any spend or procurement or travel management program will have the goal of minimizing maverick spending, as it reduces their realized savings and it reduces spend under management, both of which are critical performance metrics. And the fact that these deliberate purchasers' actions jeopardize your overall success against those metrics makes it difficult not to take their actions personally. But in order to make the most of the opportunity at hand, we do need to get beyond that reaction. Now, this is a really good quote that I found from Pierre Mitchell, an author on the Spend Matters staff. And in a May 2013 post, he said this about Mavericks. Mavericks are good. They shake up the system, and they point out where it needs to change or improve. And this leads us to another instinctive response that may be triggered by maverick spend, the fight or flight response. Now, if you've ever taken a basic psych class, you're probably familiar with the fight or flight response. And this is very simply how any person or creature responds when they're faced with an imminent threat. Do you stay and fight, or do you run in the hope of surviving? But I think in this case, there's a different option, and that would be the fight or find response. Even though it has to stay on the table, confrontation is not the only option in response to maverick spending. By replacing flight with find, we create an opportunity for ourselves, both in terms of rectifying the maverick spend and in better understanding the independent thinking, to go back to Samuel Maverick, that led to it in the first place. So keeping an open mind here is important, and the challenges really do fall to the person that is identifying and trying to stop the maverick spend, because the person out there spending, they don't have a problem. Their immediate needs are being met. They're happy. So in this case, a lot of the burden does fall to the group that's managing the contract. So in order to keep an open mind and best understand the situation, we need to open a dialogue. And this serves two purposes. It provides us with an understanding of the business drivers behind their decision, and it also hopefully provides a positive foundation for future collaboration with this person in the department that they work in. So I suggest asking them a few things. The first is, what are you getting by purchasing from or contracting with your supplier that you can't get from the supplier that we have on contract for the enterprise? How can we either incorporate your requirements into our enterprise-wide contract, or add an additional contract to protect the organization against liabilities or non-competitive payment terms? Now, when addressing this, it's always important to remember to take it from the perspective of the person you're speaking to. Not that they're cold and not that they don't want to be team players, but they really don't care about your savings target. They don't care about your spend under management target, but they just might care about the risk that they're exposing the organization to, and they hopefully certainly care about the payment terms and how advantageous those are. Now, finally, it is important to ask, why did you feel the need to work directly with the off-contract supplier rather than working with or through the contract owners to meet your needs? This last question needs to be asked without implied judgment, and the answer needs to be taken to heart. The changes that will hopefully result from well-handled maverick spend should be expected to affect everyone involved, not just the rogue spender. So this isn't just a matter of you're doing a bad behavior, the bad behavior needs to stop, you will make all the change, and the rest of us will stay as we are. Everyone is likely to change after one of these conversations. We should be open to and really expect that the process and/or contracts will change, hopefully for the better. Now, for professionals chasing the idea of and the need for transformation in their line of work, maverick spenders actually serve as important catalysts for productive change. A good attitude towards maverick spending will be focused on finding rather than punishing the activity. And this can be done through governance processes, spend analysis, or through a solution designed specifically for the purpose. Not all reasons for off-contract spending are acceptable, and that's why I left that fight on the table. You do need to stand by the contract, and if the contract needs to be changed, you need to stand by the process for making the necessary changes to that contract. But it's important to extend the benefit of the doubt. So assume that it's not personal, that the person buying off-contract it is doing it because they see an opportunity for the business, that they think they're doing the right thing. Going back to the original Maverick, the opportunity associated with off-contract spending can really only be cashed in after you find it and bring it back to the herd. Having a process or solution to assist with locating your Mavericks is the first step in opening the dialogue and getting started collaboratively on the work that needs to be done.
Welcoming you. Jonadine, we talked about the case study you were so gracious to do for us, and we wondered if we can just ask a couple questions of you.
Sure.
Describe your role in your travel program, if you will.
Well, I'm the North American Travel Coordinator, responsible for all of the travel for all of our employees. I work closely with our TMC and negotiate our air, car, hotel agreements, and we do have a managed travel program using an online tool.
Okay, great. And what is your traveler makeup?
Everyone is based in North America. We have a number of road warriors. They're comprised of our sales team and our field service personnel, but they do travel internationally quite a bit since we have customers worldwide.
Okay, that's great. How easy was the implementation from your perspective, and were there any surprises?
It was really easy. No, not really surprises. The travelers implemented themselves and were able to take advantage of some of the discount codes that the TMC offers.
Okay. So why did you think implementing Flex by Procure app was the right approach for your company, Jonadine?
Well, we were able to capture those bookings that were outside of the TMC, and that allowed me to follow the Mavericks and enhance our Visola's duty of care. And also, last but not least, we were saving money and going with the flow since we were able to take advantage of those negotiated rates that we had in place.
Oh, okay, great. Yep, that's what we typically hear across the board. The next slide that you guys are seeing show a survey of Visola, and we show the results of the survey given to their travelers. The answers are rather surprising. So out of a total of 243, all of them said they were booking with the hotel directly. And then the hotel included in my conference, convention, meeting, event, or meeting said there were 34. And then 239 said they were going to book the hotel later, but only actually 33% did. And then 54 said they were staying with friends and family. And finally, the hotel arrangements made by business partner, client, or supplier was 46. So, Jonadine, do you believe having access to this information will help with negotiations next year?
Oh, I think it's great. Yeah, it helps us capture that spend and show the hotels we are giving them more business than both of us thought.
Right. Great. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just that we got a good buy-in from our president, who saw that by bringing Procure app on board that we were able to address our duty of care better, take care of our employees, since they definitely are thinking of their paychecks and their points, and we want to keep them happy, and saw also the benefit in the cost savings. So it was a no-brainer.
Fantastic. Thank you for your time today, too. We appreciate your input. So next we are going to introduce our CEO of Procure app, Phil Hammer. Most of you guys probably know Phil or have seen him around. He's always at one of the trade shows. He's very vocal out in this space. He's the pioneer, actually, in this area. So we're going to tell a little bit more about the Flex product, but right now Phil's going to share some of his information about our solution. But Before we do that, I just want to mention that Phil just came back from New York where he received a prestigious award from BTN Online. He was named one of the top 25 influential executives in our industry for 2013. So this is quite an honor, and we really are proud of you, Phil.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Betty, and thanks to Kelly from Buyers Meeting Point and John and Dean for participating today. We are keeping our content light on the sales and demo side, and we want to provide an educational outlet for everybody. So hopefully everybody was able to get something useful out of this that they can incorporate into their program. We do have some procurement professionals out there, maybe some non-travel folks. We do a lot of work in the managed travel space, but we can certainly help other categories within the procurement realm as well. And we certainly invite all participants who have an interest in seeing the solution, seeing how it's implemented, seeing how easy it is, as John and Dean described with the 1, 2, 3 approach. We would welcome the opportunity to learn a little bit more about your program and to show you how we can save money by managing Maverick spend. And just if I could go in just a little bit further, we've got really two prime components of our Flex product by ProcureApp. The real big driver of savings is our discount badge, which is a key differentiator for us. And so we're able to turn these Mavericks who are already going out there to these direct supplier websites and apps, and we can turn them into a discounted managed spend. We call that saving money before it's spent. And then the other part of our solution also involves data capture, and this is used for reporting. In the travel management space, it's important to check off on duty of care. And then we also incorporate many back office systems. And this is a huge value and productivity saver for your travelers, because if they get to be enabled with doing what they're doing anyway, utilizing negotiated discounts while at the same time pre-populating those expense reports, which we know everybody loves to do, the productivity improvements and enhancements are immense. So we've wrapped up with a few minutes to spare. We're going to do a quick review of any questions. Anybody has a question for the panelists, please let us know. And certainly we're going to send out some follow-up information to everybody. But just one final thought. So we've got some great content to share with you on the white papers, and we'll get that to everybody right away. And if anybody wants a one-on-one demonstration, please reach out to Betty Jones, and we'll be happy to facilitate that for you. And I guess, one more little extra slide since we have some time here. We took this from John and Dean's program at Vizsla. And what's really cool here is we're able to leverage existing infrastructure and provide negotiated rate usage to suppliers direct, or to users direct on supplier properties. So that's a very powerful tool. And something else unique we did with John and Dean, and I'll wrap up here quickly, is that we also were able to incorporate car rental discounts on her Southwest business portal as well. So we take a lot of pride in customization, understanding our clients' goals, and you find us to be very customer service driven. So please enjoy the rest of your day. We appreciate your participation and your time, and we look forward to hearing from you.
And again, we will send the slides and a white paper to your email sometime soon. And there's a brief survey that would be very helpful if you can complete, that we're going to send there as well. Thank you guys again.